Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I said welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast with Andy Ruther and Joe Prano. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Port Hueneme, California, Joey No Chill Prano.
Hello, Andy.
Good morning.
Morning.
A little early morning sesh for you.
New week. I would say new season vibes. Probably on our typical Monday morning. Probably be going pretty early. Sunday nights are off. By the time football is over on Sunday evenings, Andy Ruther is in bed. Maybe even before it's over. Monday night football, too late to record after. So we got to squeeze it in Monday.
Yeah,
I texted you on Friday night, not even thinking about it the day before, that I was like, oh, Ruther and I share a Super Bowl pick. And then I was like, fuck. The second it happened, I was like, for the entire season, my Super Bowl pick is tied to the Ruther curse. And we didn't even get to week 1 Sunday before the Ruther curse reared its ugly head.
You guys are ridiculous.
And took down half of my Super Bowl pick.
Injuries happen in the NFL.
Injuries happen week 1.
They do
18 hours after you predicted a team to go to the Super Bowl.
Well, look, I predicted the Packers to make the Super Bowl.
Who did you predict to go to the Super Bowl last year out of the AFC?
I think it was Bills.
I think it was the Jets.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. It was the Jets.
Injuries happen week 1 every year to the team Ruther predicts goes to the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean,
poor Patrick Mahomes, a legacy about to be demolished.
Well, look at that field. Are we blaming me, or they playing these? They play these NFL games on these sloppy foreign fields. Guys were sliding all over the place.
Yeah.
And sadly, I actually fell asleep that game. I mean, these games, I missed the last 5 minutes of that game. Obviously, I ended up watching it, but that Packers Eagles game, which was a fun game. There was a lot of fun games to start this season, I felt.
I was watching that game at a brewery in San Luis Obispo where I had a show on Friday night. And at the show, first of all, shout out to Samir Hashmi, who is a dirtball who came all the way from Texas via the Bay Area with his girl who came all the way from Jakarta. They just happened to be passing through San Luis Obispo the night I had a show. And he's like, well, we're going to come then. And they got to see me make a Karen literally cry. A woman cried in the front row of the comedy show.
What do you mean? How?
It was the weirdest fucking set of events. So basically,
did you tell her you wanted to speak with her manager and she started crying?
It's a brewery, right? So it's a little rectangle room, and out the back there's, the back of the room is like a big ass garage door. Your typical kind of industrial brewery.
Yeah.
So there was a couple different places for the comics to hang, but I ended up just kind of hanging out. I wanted to watch the show a little bit. So I'm hanging outside of the building, watching the show through the big garage door. And as I'm like walking around the parking lot, there's a Porsche, like a Carolina blue matte paint job Porsche parked across. It's like sideways into a handicap spot. The handicap spot, by the way, is one of those handicap spots where they have the huge ass, like, cross spots next to it, so like you could get out and you could bring like a fucking
Mm.
lift doing it. The guy is 60%, 70% out of the spot, 30% actually in the spot, backed in probably $100,000 car, little fucking placard on it. And I was like, look at this motherfucker. I was like, first of all, you think this guy's even handicapped? And second of all, what the fuck kind of parking job is this? Like, what a dick. So I say to one of the other comics that's standing there, I was like, if I have a moment during my show, I'm going to find out who this asshole is. So then I get on stage. I'm the last comic of the night. I get on stage. And as I walk on stage, there's a middle-aged couple in the front, guy probably in his 60s, and his Karen-looking wife, fully extended, lazy boy style, legs, both of them, legs fully on the stage. On the stage. I walk on, I was like, well, look at you guys. Make yourselves at home. And they're just like laughing. I'm just like, I'm literally avoiding their feet as I get on the stage. And right in that moment, as I'm like putting my beer down, I turn to him and I go, you're a fucking Porsche guy, aren't you? And he's like, what? I go, is that your Porsche out back? And he's like, yeah. And he points to his little fucking quarter zip that has Porsche on it. And I was like, this motherfucker. So I just start ripping him. I was like, what's your handicap that you can't park? Blah, blah, blah. Like ripping him, whatever. And everybody's loving it. Crowd's loving it. And then I move on with my set. And 5 minutes later, their kids who are like next to them are like, no, yeah, like, leaning in. And the husband's like, no, don't. Like, blah, blah. And I'm like, there's a lot of commotion going on here. Everybody okay? And she like turns to me and she's, no joke, already got tears in her eyes. And she's like, I just can't let it go. And they're like, stop, mom, stop. No. And I was like, it's okay. I was like, I can tell you're really upset. What's going on? Like, what happened? And I had done like a couple political jokes. I had done like a priest joke. I was like, is this some religious thing? Is this some MAGA shit? What are we doing here? So she's like, I just can't let this go. And I was like, hon, are you crying? She's like, yeah, I'm very upset. And I was like, okay, just tell me what it is. Like, we'll be fine. I all these are jokes. Like, she's like, he's really handicapped. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was like, I didn't actually make fun of his handicap, whatever it may be. I just joked, you know, what's his handicap? He's a terrible parker. I made fun of his stupid car and the fact that he can't park, like whatever. And I was like, what's his handicap? And she goes, he has arthritis. And I was like, oh, get fucked. Like, absolutely fucking kill yourself. And then she just fucking started crying.
So, did he have a handicap tag for his car?
Yeah.
For arthritis.
Yeah, for like whatever, congenial arthritis or some shit like that.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And so I shit on them for a while, and then I kept coming back to them. And the crowd loved it, and they hated it. And they were with their son, who was like whatever, and his like girlfriend. They came up to me after. They're like, "That was great. We loved it." Blah 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 blah. Just fucking Karening.
Do you think maybe she was crying because she watched Daniel Jones play football yesterday?
It's possible. Possible. Although it was before that.
So I'm gonna make a hard pivot, as you can see. I already see a bunch of comments. Everybody wants to know. Everyone wants to hear. Is Prano ready to give up on Daniel Jones? Is Prano ready?
I'm actually ready to give up on Daniel Jones. And hot take here, I'm ready to give up on Dable.
I knew that was coming.
And I'll tell you why. I think that Daniel Jones played really, really poorly, missed a lot of open guys, very inaccurate. But there's also something going on with Dable that I don't really understand. And I think I think no matter which way I slice it, it is not like what I want in a coach that's going to like this team is rebuilding no matter what. Like even if they came out good like they weren't winning the Super Bowl this year. So you got to build to win the Super Bowl. And there's something happening, and no matter what way I slice it, it's not good for Dable, which is I think that he's done with Daniel Jones. And instead of doing what McVay did, and we've all, I'm the biggest Sean McVay fan. Instead of doing what he did with Goff, which was like, I'm going to make this game easier for Jared Goff. And I'm going to show the team, I'm going to show this franchise how good we can be with Jared Goff. And then I'm going to say, look at what we would be able to do if we had a better quarterback. There's something going on because we're 2 years removed from Dable's first year where he did exactly that. I mean, look at what's happened to Jared Goff in like the arc of his career. He was Mr. Medium Pizza. We were like, we both were so critical of him, even when he was playing well. It's like, he never has to make a difficult pass, ever. He never has to throw it into coverage. He never has to fit it in a window. He never has to whatever. It's all just schemed for the easy one read play. And then he was able to do that all the way to a Super Bowl before Bill Belichick was like, you're not going to have one read here, bitch. And then he scored 6 points. And then McVay is, what's that? 3 points.
Yeah.
And then McVay, you look at what the Rams, I mean, they won a playoff game against your boy with a backup. Was that a week 17 game? Or was it a wild card game? I forget.
No, it was a wild card game.
Yeah, it was a wild card game. With a backup, it was like, I will dial everything back to the quality of quarterback that I have and still win. Dable did that 2 years ago, and the Giants looked pretty good. And Daniel Jones looked pretty good. And I understand if Dable thinks there's only that's his peak, right? But McVay thought that was Goff's peak, but he like let him live there and then was just like, hey, we got to replace him. We're good. We got to replace him. We can win the Super Bowl. Dable yesterday is either incapable of, which seems weird because he did it 2 years ago, or is purposely not giving Daniel Jones the easy read, the one look play, the scheming guys into space. To start the game yesterday, Sam Darnold looked fucking terrible. In the opening couple drives, he got sacked. He threw what was a terrible pass that was bailed out with an awful pass interference call. And then all of a sudden, and credit to Kevin O'Connor, they literally just started scheming, running back out of the backfield in the flat for 8 yards every time they needed it, setting up the random shot for Justin Jefferson here and there. It was like dink, 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 shot to Jefferson. Dink, 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 shot for Jefferson. And then all of a sudden, people are like, oh, Sam Darnold. I mean, like the broadcast was like, Sam Darnold, you knew if he finally got on a good team, he would look okay. He was on the goddamn 49ers. What are we talking about? And they even were doing like the one touchdown play they had. It was literally Justin Jefferson in the backfield, full decoy, give the guy one read. If not, you throw it out of bounds. And I don't know if Dable is just so done with Daniel Jones that he like threw him to the wolves, but it also just feels really weird. That was like, how are you going to play that bad? And he's going to play the whole game. Like what kind of punishment is this for everybody? So I'm just either you're incapable of getting the easy read play drawn up on paper, which is weird because you did it for a whole season 2 years ago, or you're purposely tanking your quarterback's situation, either of which suddenly I'm kind of out on you. I thought you were a great coach. Why are you doing this?
Who's the Giants' backup?
Drew Lock.
Drew Lock. Okay.
and then DeVito.
That's right. Okay, so that game, you figure it was about a toss-up. It was a pick game. The point spread was around half a point, 1 point. Against the Vikings, who nobody's expecting anything, against Sam Darnold. I mean, I would have to say the Giants showing has got to be up. Like if we did week 1 biggest duds, where do you put the Giants?
Yeah, it's got to be up. I mean, listen, I think the expectation if you're a Giants fan is like, let's see what happens. But I don't think there's a single Giants fan. And I know there's delusional fans in every fan base, but I don't think there's a single reasonable Giants fan that thought the Giants had a shot of making the playoffs this year. Now, that's where you get into the mindset of being a fan. So for me, if you go out and you win this game, like you ride that idea for as long as you can. Even if you don't believe in your team making the playoffs, you ride that idea as long as you can, right? Like if the Giants were 5-4, you're like, okay, well, we're like, whatever. You keep going. Now I'm like, I don't want to be a team that loses in the wild card round. So now I want to lose all my games.
Yeah.
Now I want to lose all the games. Now it's tank. Now it's tank for Belichick. Make him the GM. Let him be the coach if he wants, or let him hire a coach if he wants. Turn over the head of football operations to Bill Belichick. And this is a guy who's a Dable stan 18 months ago. One game yesterday, I go, it feels like you're doing this on purpose. And I don't like that.
What do you think of the fans waiting for him to leave the stadium to boo him?
Who? Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. The Giants fans were stuck there anyway. It's impossible to get out of Meadowlands. They didn't stay. They were strapped in the parking lot.
Okay. I don't know the situation.
They're still there, by the way. They're waiting for him. The way the New York Post is going to say is they waited for him to come back to practice the next day. They're still stuck in the parking lot.
Who do the Giants have this week?
Week 2, the Giants have Washington.
Okay, so that's at least a winnable game.
Yeah, but now I don't want to win. Now I don't want to win.
You want to lose every game.
I want to lose every game. There is nothing worse in the NFL than being mediocre. And if you're not showing me, again, if you're not going the McVay route, I'll make the fucking playoffs. I'll win a playoff game with Tommy DeVito. Now go get me a starting quarterback. Then shut it down.
But by the way, Sean McVay, I'm glad you mentioned him a couple of times now, because I was thinking a lot about him watching the game last night, and I was thinking, we always say underrated, overrated. I actually think he's underrated as a coach. And then I was thinking, watching the game, who the fuck are these guys?
Right.
On both sides, when they do the player introductions. Now, obviously, we know Stafford and Puka and Cooper Kupp and some of the skill guys. But I said, who are these guys? I got the defense. I don't know who these guys are. Now, obviously, I don't follow the Rams so closely. But what's crazy to me is he's a coach that gets the most out. They're down 2 touchdowns on the road. They come back, right, to take the lead. I just think, and when you watch that offense, how they lose Puka, it doesn't matter. How he just writes a great game plan. And
this is my point, is in the NFL these days, it's not hard with the talent and the schemes and the way they put the handcuffs on the defense and whatever. It's not hard to scheme guys open. It's just a matter of, can the defense do bend but don't break? Which is why I'm watching the Giants game. I'm like, I feel like you're purposely not doing that, which is crazy.
But like my thing about McVay is, obviously he's been to 2 Super Bowls, wins the Super Bowl, but they're this close to beating Detroit last year in Detroit. With who? Like who's on that team?
Yeah.
Last night, same thing. The game goes into overtime. They lose a hard-fought game. They were clearly gassed at the end. But my point is, he gets the most out of his players.
Absolutely.
And conversely, I think about a guy like a Zach Taylor, and I say, you're who you coached under Sean McVay, ironically. You're the anti-Sean McVay. You don't get shit out of your players, man.
Yeah.
And I really think coaching, it really matters so much in the NFL. And I think about Harbaugh as well, and we'll talk about that. It's like it was 1 week and it's one game, but it's like, what did you already do in week 1? You barely passed the ball. You have I'm losing my mind. You have quarterback, brain freeze, Chargers.
Justin Herbert.
Jesus. You had Justin Herbert, losing my mind. You had Justin Herbert, but like you were saying, Harbaugh said, I'm going to establish the run, like I always have. We're going to play defense. We're not giving up points.
Because and guess what? He's fully confident in Herbert. And it's just like, listen, we're going to play the game that gives us the best chance to win. And then what do we always have in our back pocket? We have a quarterback who in crunch time can make every throw and has all the ability, has whatever. That's the name of the game in the NFL. We talk about these quarterbacks all the time, and it's like this stat, that stat, this many yards, that many yards. And really it's just about being in these games at the end and then having a quarterback who you can trust in those situations.
For sure. But kind of my point about all this is I think coaching, in a weird way, we don't think about it as much as we should, especially the good coaches who maximize the talent and the scheme, and how important that shit is, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's why I'm out on a guy who I thought was, one of the best coaches in the league a couple years ago, because I was like, not only are you not maximizing your scheme, you're minimizing your scheme. Now you're minimizing your talent. And I think, and again, my issue with it is it's not the Giants way. It's not the kind of it felt purposeful where he's like, we're done with this experiment, right? I don't have to do this anymore. And it's like, this is not what I want in the head coach. That you can play that game if you're the head coach of a lot of franchises, but not the Giants. Can I also say something else? This is something that I desperately need to talk about the New York Football Giants versus Minnesota Vikings game. The Giants looked trash. The Vikings won the game. There was some bright spot moments. Vikings fans, especially Vikings fans whose exchanges we can go back and look at, if you were a Kirk Cousins defender, you don't get to dance a happy dance on my grave. Your franchise only has the potential of one day being relevant because me, as a member of the sports media, is the most outspoken Kirk Cousins hater of all time. You only have a chance at relevancy because I talked you guys off of the absolute hostage situation that Kirk Cousins held your franchise in. You finally moved on. You finally can spend money on other things besides the maybe most overrated quarterback in the history of the league. You're supposed to be tweeting me and DMing me, thank you. That's what you're supposed to be. If you were a Kirk Cousins defender arguing with me for years, and now you're trying to dunk on me about the New York Football Giants, imagine had I stayed silent and you still had Kirk Cousins. How did the fucking Falcons do yesterday? Your team didn't miss a beat with Sam Darnold dinking and dunking.
Now it's week 1. Now we got to remember, like,
it's
people
week 1 for who?
For all of us, for every team.
That's what I'm saying. First of all, the Vikings aren't going to compete for that division.
No.
But you have a potential to one day, once again, for the first time since fucking Randy Moss be a relevant organization because I got you off Kirk Cousins. And you have the audacity to come at me. What you should be saying is, oh my God, Sam Darnold played the same game that Kirk Cousins played at his absolute Vikings peak. Thank you. You were right the whole time. The audacity. I don't even think about your franchise because I was like, oh, I don't have to fucking worry about the Vikings anymore. The only thing I cared about the Minnesota Vikings about is now in Atlanta. And then people whose names I can put into Twitter with my name and with Kirk Cousins. Imagine having that much lack of self-awareness and be like, I've embarrassed myself in Joe Prano's mentions for 6 full seasons. And now I shall act like that never happened.
Who has more wins, the Vikings or the Giants at the end of the year?
Hopefully the fucking Vikings. I want 0. This isn't what I saw yesterday. Isn't you come back against Washington next week, you're 1-1. Cleveland looked terrible against the Cowboys, as I predicted. Maybe you steal a win versus them, you're 2-1. Like, no. I don't want to pretend like I want to win 0 games.
That Cleveland game was wild, man. You know that I know again, like I just said, it's week 1. We've only played the first game. We got 17 more weeks, but that Deshaun Watson contract. At this juncture, right now, this very day, it's the worst contract in NFL history. At the very least, I think
the Broncos are still paying Russ's contract.
30 million guaranteed to Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
All those draft picks. Now, Denver did the same, but man, it wasn't this level. It was like the fact that,
to be fair, they were a playoff team last year, right?
they were. But that's kind of the point without him.
No, I know that's the point, but I'm just saying you were close. You thought the quarterback was the difference. And you made the move. The reason the Cleveland thing is doubly insane is because look at how well Baker Mayfield's playing.
That's what I was just about to say. Look at how well Baker's playing. And you know what I was thinking today when I was walking Roscoe? Remember just that little, it's like he was given a chance, that little opportunity that Baker Mayfield was given on the Rams, where he showed some life.
Yeah.
With Sean McVay. Basically extended his career. They make the playoffs.
His career. He's in the playoffs. He got a new contract.
Got a new contract. He looked good. I know it's week 1. They're going against the Commanders, but he looked good yesterday.
The NFC South is already wild.
It is wild. Thank you, Carolina, for completely laying an egg for me.
Also, I didn't tweet this yesterday because I'm putting all my stuff on our Substack chat in my Substack notes. But I did note this on Substack yesterday. Follow us on Substack. Follow me on Substack. Follow Andy Ruther on Substack. Andy Ruther's shadow banned on Twitter, so I don't know why he's not putting his thoughts in Substack notes. And now I'm shadow banned on Twitter via Andy Ruther, via my relationship with Andy Ruther somehow. I'm putting all my thoughts on notes, so follow me on Substack. I put this. Do Saints fans still hate Derek Carr? Week 1, Saints fans check in. You guys still hate Derek Carr's guts? You're still spending 70 to 75 hours building a Derek Carr zombie Mardi Gras float? Yeah, you basically had an SEC week 0 game against University of the Pacific. You won 47-0 or whatever the fuck it was. We still hate Derek Carr?
Again, if we won, it's against the Carolina Panthers. Who at this point? I mean, you talk about if you don't figure it out, you lost your quarterback.
They showed the new coach yesterday in pregame in his little fucking twinked out in a little Under Armour shirt. And they were like, this new guy. I go, he looks like a fucking gay hairdresser. What, like what? This is the guy you're talking. They're like, Dave Castellan or whatever the fuck his name is. I was like, this is the guy? They're all hyping him up. Look how young he is. Look how handsome he is. He was the so-and-so for the blah, blah, blah. Absolute shit dump.
It's a mess. I mean, that's a dumpster fire right now.
But also, the Saints looked good.
Yeah, I always say it's tough to put so much into a week one overreaction of some of these teams.
I feel like, I mean, there's a game here and a game there where I'm like, okay, you know, like even the first couple games, like Ravens, Chiefs, like, you know, the Chiefs game went as I expected it to, but the Ravens were closer, and then some people were like, Lamar can't do it down the stretch, and then some people were like, they're gonna these are the two teams that are gonna battle in the AFC. And I'm like, I'm not gonna overreact to week one. You know, the Friday game, it's like I picked the Packers to win. It was a back and forth game. The Eagles won. Both these teams are gonna be, and I'm like, okay, like,
well,
the game
played, credit to the Eagles,
Brazil.
They did. Saquon looked really good, man.
Oh, listen, I mean, I believe Saquon might have the September MVP trophy. I think this might be his 5th year where he's going to get the very small September MVP trophy again. Like he's September MVP 5 years running. Yeah, no one's doubting ever. I don't think with a brain how talented and great Saquon Barkley is. It's just a matter of, will it last? And, you know, will he stay healthy? Will it last? When the going gets tough, how does Saquon turn? You know, when they start scheming for Saquon, does Nick Sirianni have a plan that isn't just throw the ball long down the field with 2 fucking fly routes? But, you know, not really a defensive game by any means. You know, like there were some moments of good defense. There's some, you know, some weird field issues, but that my point is, like, I'm not really overreacting to anything one way or the other in that game. I'm not overreacting to a lot of the games, but then there's some, like my game, where I'm like, literally fire Dable and get rid of Jones and get a new, like, shut it down. Well, I'm also, I'll overreact to your game. I don't care how many, like, you know, we can talk about the whole Joe Burrow. Do they pay this guy? Do they pay that guy? Well, if some of those guys don't play, you lose to the Patriots at home.
I agree.
I said it a couple years ago, and then they made the Super Bowl, and everybody was like, how'd that go for you? I said, if you lose to the Jets, who were lowly at the time, you're not a Super Bowl contender. Then they made the Super Bowl. It's like, what the? It's like, well, first of all, you got there, you lost, and it's been a goddamn down spiral ever since. Week one, you ruined every person's suicide pool on planet Earth. The Patriots don't have anybody whose name we know.
Nobody. Dude, you know, it's why when you watch that game.
And you got bullied.
They didn't get a first down. They had 3 straight 3-and-outs. The Bengals didn't get a first down to the second quarter. You play, like you said, a team with a rookie head coach. Nobody. They gave up 170 rushing yards. They knew that was the plan because it's Kobe Pascoli, your boy, and a bunch of unknown receivers. Joe, how many times am I going to say it? Zach Taylor is not a good coach. He's not a good coach. They're not prepared. And we all know I'm a big Burrow stan, but he does this every September. And if we're going to make excuses because they didn't have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase contract / let's put in air quotes, had food poisoning the night before, not buying that. Either you're the man or you're not the man, Burrow. We don't necessarily know because at LSU, he had Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson.
Also at LSU, like what the fuck are we talking about? Like who gives a shit what he did in college?
No, for sure. But my point is he's always had studs for the most part.
I mean, obviously nobody doubts Joe Burrow is an elite quarterback, a top 5 quarterback in the league, but it's so fickle how fast things can change and how fast you can be. I mean, Deshaun Watson was a top 5 quarterback in the league at one point. It's amazing how fast, one guy can pop up and another guy can fall out. Now, does it really matter where you like quote unquote rank? No, but I think a bigger thing is between Burrow and Zach Taylor and they'll turn it on. They'll have a 6-game win streak in the middle of the year. Cool story. But you had the whole, and this is what I said to my friends who are Giants fans. I said, you had months. You had 7 months. 7 months to prepare, to do your opening drive. We're going to walk through this opening drive 14,000 times.
Yeah.
This isn't the scripted drive of the Super Bowl where you have 2 weeks. This isn't the scripted drive of week 6 where you had 4 days. This is a 6-month opening drive. And the third play of the Giants, they're throwing the ball backwards. You're literally throwing the ball in the wrong direction. After one pass play, Daniel Jones has -3 passing yards. This is what you come up. You have 6 months. This is what you come up with. If you're Zach Taylor and you're Joe Burrow and you have 6 months and you can't put points on the board against the New England Patriots, I don't care if you win 6 games in a row in the middle of the season. I am out.
I agree with
there are games to not overreact to, and then there's games to overreact to.
Well, here's the thing.
Does this mean the Saints are going to the Super Bowl? No. Does this mean the Bengals aren't going to the Super Bowl? Yes.
No. Oh.
Yes.
So I would disagree there. I think
they're going to the Super Bowl?
No. I don't think they are.
They could go to the Super Bowl?
It's a look. It's week 1. I don't think they will. I would say 99% chance they don't. And look, the coach.
Yes, if Lamar Jackson goes down. Yes, if Aaron Rodgers goes down. Yes, if Patrick Mahomes goes down. But I am not the world's biggest Andy Reid stan. Everybody knows this about me. I am on the great coach, Hall of Fame coach. Also maybe a little bit overrated because we've turned him into the offensive guru who was unable to win anything until he met Patrick Mahomes. But he takes his cheeseburger that he shits out, takes shits. The cheeseburger then shits itself. Better head coaches than Zach Taylor.
No, I agree. Look, I mean,
I defended the guy.
He's now 1-10 starting between weeks 1 and 2. They're underdogs. They go to Kansas City next week. It's the same old thing. But the thing we're not talking about, the thing that most, as we know, casuals, especially the Bengals fan casuals, the thing that's missing, and it's related to what we talk about with building your team, is the defense. So the Super Bowl run 3 years ago, the defense had 8 takeaways in 4 games. They were playing great. The next year, when they go back to the AFC Championship, top 5 ranked points per game given up defense. So my point is this. They had a defense playing great. They haven't since. And if you give up 170 rushing yards to the Patriots, What's going to happen when you face the Steelers, Browns, and Ravens, who all run the ball in your division? It's 6 games. Good luck. And, I was buying into the easy schedule, hence I picked them to win the division. Well, shit, now you got to go to Kansas City. I said, now they play the Chiefs well. They always do. They play the Chiefs well. So I hate to say this. That's an early, do they have to win? You start 0-2. Now, granted, then I believe they have the Panthers and the Commanders after that. So it's like those are 2 games they can win. But I don't know if you play that way against the Patriots. I mean, it's a major dud of a game yesterday. Was that
what's the temperature? What's the temperature in Cincinnati? Honestly,
I think the fans are stupid, so I don't even really care. The temperature is this. We always start this way. You always start this way,
and you've never won a Super Bowl. So is that okay?
So like my buddy, I told you, I placed a bet. I gave him the odds, which were 8-1 before it started. The Bengals making the Super Bowl. So I said, okay, I'll bet you $50. I'll pay you out $400 if they make the Super Bowl. So my buddy texted on our group chat yesterday. You asking about the temperature. He said, I'm not worried. And I just wrote back, there's 60 years of evidence that says you should be worried, but I'm happy for you.
Right. We always start like this. Cool. And you've never won a Super Bowl. So maybe you should start a way you don't normally start. Maybe you should go to Costanza and do everything different. I also think that's my thing with teams too, is like the whole, I'm not saying this is a 27 rings Yankee thing. It's like shit that happened in the 30s when there was no black people playing. It is literally a zero factor in the sports conversation. The Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl happened in color. The first Super Bowl is a color TV event.
Well, exactly.
Everything, the entire Super Bowl era is in the era of color television. It's a very modern thing. Everything that happened in the Super Bowl era matters. Your approach needs to be different based on your fucking team. I go back to the Vikings, for example. Congratulations, and you're welcome. You have moved on from the albatross that was the most overrated quarterback maybe in NFL history. And now you try to figure out where to go from here and get your first Super Bowl. Figure out how to get your one Super Bowl. Right? But if you're a team like the Steelers, like the Giants, like the Patriots, like the Packers, you need to be thinking about, how do we recapture being a team that is year in and year out? We could be a Super Bowl team, winning a Super Bowl every decade.
Yeah. But again, we talk about this. I don't think a lot of teams think that way. Or they're just trying to catch lightning in a bottle. Kind of like the Deshaun Watson contract. And they hope it works out. That's not working out. Now, I laugh at the...
Give me 2 seconds. I just got to go grab my charger, plug my computer in.
Yeah, go for it.
Pontificate.
Yeah, I will. You got to get one. I love history. I love history. I just love it. Whether it's like American history, political history, sports history, world history, you name it. And I think it's so important when we look at these things. And Joe's kind of talking about that. That's why a franchise like the Browns, like the Bengals, like the Vikings, if you don't have a title ever, it's tough to finally get over that hump and get a title. You got to do things differently. And that's also why I think a franchise like the Cowboys, and I'm on record saying this, and I'll say it again, I honestly don't think Jerry Jones gives a shit about actually winning another Super Bowl because he got 3 early on. When you give Dak Prescott the highest guaranteed contract in NFL history, based on what we've seen through Dak's career, I don't think he actually cares about winning a Super Bowl. I know it sounds crazy, but I don't think Jerry Jones actually cares by giving Dak Prescott that contract. I just don't.
we're talking Dak.
Yeah. And I'm saying, my stance on Jerry Jones now is he won 3 Super Bowls early. They make the most money of any team in the NFL revenue wise. I honestly don't think he cares.
But what is okay? So if he doesn't care about winning the Super Bowl and he
just wants to make money.
Okay, but why does this make him money?
It's a good question. I think that they're still the team talked about in a weird way. I think that giving him this contract, it just keeps them in the news. It just keeps everybody talking about the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Can he or can't he do it? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's an
I love that. You know what's so funny about the can he or can't he do it? It's like, why aren't we talking about can Joe Prano fly or can't Joe Prano fly? Like, why do we do the can he or can't? Like, he can't do it. He hasn't been in a Super Bowl.
I know.
Has he been in an NFC Championship game?
He's been in one. This is his 9th season. I mean, that's what's crazy. This is his 9th season.
I know. Now, what's your overreaction or no reaction to the Cowboys game?
Well, I'm surprised. Like Cleveland, who obviously has had a really great defense the last few years, I'm surprised. Although that game wasn't necessarily, Dak didn't light it up, and
right. I guess I was less surprised that Cleveland, like from year in and year out, like I predicted the Cowboys to win that game because it's Cleveland. And conversely, the Cowboys have everybody on the fucking. What did I say about the NFC East? I said it's going to be the paper tiger. The 2 division winners are going to be the 2 teams competing for the division are going to be the paper tigers. And we'll do that's you can't be the paper tiger unless you come out swinging, look hot. Dak Prescott, new contract. They beat a playoff team with one of the best defenses. Saquon, 3 touchdowns. We're going to do the same thing we've done for Miami the last couple of years. Everybody, we're going to boner out. My overreaction is no reaction other than, Cleveland randomly stunk. Like, historically, if I bet for Cleveland to just show up and shit the bed, regardless of how they've done the week before, the week after, the season before, what is like, you're going to make money. You're going to make money if you just wake up one day and decide Cleveland's going to regress and be shit again today.
Yeah.
We suck again.
Now, I did not, because I was at my brother's and we were watching the games and they had some people over. I did not get to hear too much of Tom Brady.
So my reaction to Tom Brady, I had that game on, at that point in the day, I had Red Zone. So I'll tell you how my setup was. Yesterday morning, I had the Giants on my TV, Red Zone on the smaller screen. No sound on Red Zone, switching back and forth. Late games, I had Red Zone on the big screen. Cowboys, Cleveland on the small screen. And was swapping between Cowboys, Cleveland, and Chargers, Raiders. Didn't get to watch a ton of Tom Brady, but then my buddy called me. He's like, "Are you annoyed that Brady's good?" And I was like, "Why? First of all, why would I give a shit?" And second of all, I was like, "Is he?" He's like, "Yeah, he's really good." So I turned it on, put on the volume, literally listen for the sole purpose of listening to Brady. I'm like, it's fine. It's neither. It's literally, to me, it was neither here nor there, which is kind of what you want in a broadcaster.
Well, people were very critical. I know everybody comes out the woodwork on these announcers, and I think they're usually overly critical. What's fascinating to me, I was telling somebody yesterday, is that these guys just cannot leave the game. I mean,
that's the most, especially with Tom Brady. That's the most,
and that's my point. That's what I was saying. I said we've never ever seen anything like this. This is
Tony
like
Romo, late start to his career, early end to his career.
7 Super Bowl rings, all the numbers.
Get a hobby, bro.
I said it would have been like if Michael Jordan or LeBron
came back and played for the Wizards. It was awful.
It's like if they became announcers. Can you imagine LeBron after playing 20 years in the
Magic Johnson's an announcer, Isaiah Thomas was an announcer. Like it happens all the time.
I'm talking about the GOAT. I'm talking about like the best. It's we've never seen a guy that achieved what Brady has to then go and announce.
Well, no one's ever achieved what Brady has.
That's my point, though. Can you imagine? I was saying this. Can you imagine if Michael Jordan went into the broadcast booth?
Yeah.
You said, "What are you doing? Just give the game up, man." At a certain point.
Yeah, I think I was unmoved one way or the other by Brady. I got a call that he was great. I saw I already saw the headline on a hot take about how he was bad. So that's perfect. That's exactly where you want to live. Half the people think you're doing awesome. Half the people think you suck.
Yeah. Well, we got a nice little early season NFL fight. Raiders.
Chargers
fans. You see this?
Oh, no. I actually saw the Raiders-Chargers fight itself. I thought that's what we were talking about.
Yo fool. This is some yo fool on yo fool crime. And a woman gets body slammed.
Oh.
Look at this. Just savages.
Is that the body slamming?
No, you'll see.
Wow.
There. Girl gets body slammed. This guy's dead. Look at this guy. Let's go back to this guy. He's dead. Look at the blood.
Let's go back to the fact that you're Chargers and Raiders fans. What are you guys fighting over?
I mean,
what is this fight?
What are they doing? What are they fighting over?
You've been a Chargers fan for 2 weeks, man. Yeah, well, you've been a Vegas Raiders fan for 3 weeks. No, that's not true. I've been a Raiders fan for 2 months, man. Bullshit. Oh, you fucking bullshit.
But the truth is, this is why I don't like to go to the NFL games, man. This is ridiculous. Like, why are we going to this? No, I'm just saying you see this and you're like they panned during the Bengals game. They panned on like a young kid who's probably Isla's age, and I just said, "You're taking your like 2-year-old to this game? Why?" The NFL is such a great product to watch at home. It really is. I don't know. I like this type of behavior. They're animals. And you know what? He took a lot of flack for it, and I don't know why. This is why the guy who just got fired from the Washington Commanders called NFL fans mouth breathers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he got a lot of shit for it because you're not supposed to be drunkenly shitting on your job, regardless of what job you do.
Well, for sure. But my point is, look, I didn't.
But I said the same thing. He absolutely said nothing wrong.
But I'm saying,
Commanders are a joke. Jerry Jones runs the league. All the players are dumb and homophobic. All the fans are drunk and alcoholic mouth breathers. Like he didn't. There wasn't a lot of misses in there.
But that's my point. Like I'm a diehard NFL fan. I don't take it personally when he calls NFL fans mouth breathers. I see the team Reddit pages. I see what people post on social media. The delusions. Dude, there's something going around in Cincinnati that I saw. I mean, we talk about the PR and how masterfully the NFL spins things. It's always in the owner's favor. There's stuff going around that the Bengals, the Brown family had to borrow money to pay Joe Burrow's contract. Like they're taking out loans for his guaranteed money. I'm like, well, what is this based on? Like you guys, again, like, do you not know how this works? Do you not use Google? It's unbelievable. By the way, that's gonna be a tough walk to practice this week across the city after that L. Walking in your cleats after taking that L. I do love this Chargers move though. I'll tell you what, man. Like that's a team. I know we talk about week 1 overreactions. Where you just, again, Joe, an organization that has never won a Super Bowl. They've never won a Super Bowl, right? The Chargers.
No.
And they're like the West Coast Bengals, basically. They'll make it occasionally, family run, tight wads, all that. But when you get a good head coach, man, it can really change things. Now, do they compete with the Chiefs? I don't think so. But they're going to come in second. We all saw what the Broncos did yesterday.
Yeah.
QB guru Sean Payton. What do you do with Bo Nix?
And listen, he's a rookie and it's his first game.
For sure.
But I think Jim Harbaugh in a very, very, very short coaching career, when you compare it to Sean Payton, has accomplished way more, despite the fact that he didn't win a Super Bowl and Sean Payton did. Is like, cool, you're one fluke Super Bowl the fucking Katrina year with your 20-year Hall of Fame quarterback, and otherwise what? Like, I know it's a Super Bowl or a bust league, but like, to me on paper, if you show them year in and year out, like Jim Harbaugh is a better coach than Sean Payton.
For sure. So the rookie QBs all struggled yesterday. For the most part. Talk about Bo Nix. Caleb Williams didn't even throw for 100 yards.
Caleb Williams had made a couple of great throws, and
he missed some bad ones. He missed some open guys.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I'm saying the defense played well. The defense got them points. Special teams got them points. I haven't been on the Bears. I had same as you: Packers, Lions, Bears, Vikings. I don't have the Bears, making the playoffs or anything, but like that's a good situation to be in, right? Have a defense that's gonna help you out. But conversely, Caleb Williams didn't throw for 100 yards, and the Titans still fucking lost. Get fucked, Titans fans.
Where you at, Alex from Kentucky? Where you at?
Oh, Will Levis without the 2 plays where he handed the ball off to Bears defenders running into the end zone. We win this game if it's not for Will Levis going, sir, are you leaving the field via our end zone? Take this football. We'd be right there.
Some fun games. Actually, this wasn't division, but the Jacksonville-Miami game was fun.
It's the division of Florida trash.
Yeah. Obviously
Florida
highlighted by
division.
Tyreek Hill on and off the field. 20 to
arrested on his way into the stadium.
yeah,
Well,
it's wild.
detained, I should say.
Do we
How
have
are you
any?
even speed? Like, he was in the shadow of the stadium. How are you even speeding in like the approach to the game? Like, I don't even understand. How could you speed? Is traffic like, are Miami fans getting there so late that an hour before game time, just roads are wide open to the stadium? You guys didn't know that's why we go to the games late. We like to keep the roads clear for our players, so we don't arrive until the second quarter. That way, if Tyreek Hill's running late, he can just speed right onto the gate.
Well, see, here's the solution, Tyreek Hill. You play for the Bengals. You got to park like 5 blocks away from the stadium, walk in the stadium in your cleats.
Yeah. Yeah. See, Tyreek Hill, the other option here is you play for the Bengals and you park 3 to 4 miles away, and then you get on the Alamo rent-a-car bus and you put all your equipment and stuff on the little rack, and then they drop you off at the stadium.
Man, I was really hoping Jacksonville would pull this one out though, but they still covered. But like, I mean, nothing in that game surprises me,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Nothing really surprised. I did really enjoy. Probably the best pass I enjoyed this week was that Anthony Richardson throw. You see that throw?
Yeah.
Holy shit. And look at the Texans just running the ball.
You know, I feel great about the Texans as a team and as a franchise because of that game yesterday. You know, you go the no overreaction week 1 thing. It's like, had the Texans lost and the Colts won, it would be similar. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, the Colts are winning the division. They've unseated the fucking favorite. Like, but week 1 division game against a team that you guys go back and forth with, they play well, they put you to the test, you come out on top in a close game. It's like, that's the week 1. It's almost the best week 1 you could possibly have in the NFL.
Well, again, coaching matters. You got a coach who
Is there anything? Let me ask you something. If you're rooting for a team, I know you don't have a team that you root for, but if you had a team that you care about, would you want anything more than a back and forth close win against a division rival week 1, just to show it doesn't matter if it's week 1, week 8, week 10, week 12, week 15, the Super Bowl, whatever. We're locked in. Every game matters. Any given Sunday, doesn't matter who you're playing. It could be close. You just got to find a way to come out on top.
Yeah, it's a great way to set the tone for the season. And especially when you win. My thing on a lot of these teams, when you win in the fashion of we can establish the run, like you were saying about Justin Herbert earlier, but if we need to rely on our stud QB, we will. But if you run the ball in the NFL, it just makes it so much easier for your defense as well. It just makes it so much easier. Now, I don't think Joe Mixon, I'm not a big Mixon fan. I never have been. At least not the last few years. I don't think he's going to rush for 159 yards every week. I don't. Now, if he does, I'll laugh my ass off since the Bengals let him go. But again, I don't think they ever had a coach who knew how to fully utilize him. But once that defense kind of gets going for the Texans, they're going to be a tough team, man.
Run the ball, play defense, have a quarterback you trust. Be in every game. Have it be like we're in every game. give ourselves a chance to win. That's the name of the game in the NFL. Honestly, if you're built to blow teams out and then you're built to lose blowouts, if you told me that an NFL team was going to play every single game of the year within a 7-point game, or they're going to have 8 games that they're blown out in one direction and 8 games are going to get blown out in another, and it's going to be 6-2, right? You're going to be 6-2 in those games. You're going to blow out 6 teams and you're going to lose 2 games by blowout. I'll be like, give me the team that's going to win every game. That's going to fucking be within 7 points. I honestly don't want that much of it. Like, I don't want the Cowboys. I don't want the Dolphins from last year. I don't want the Cowboys from last year. I don't want the Dolphins from last year.
I agree.
Oh, one stinker here and there. Everybody's susceptible to that.
Well, you just want a team that can keep it close. And all these teams, for the most part, if you can control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, that's kind of what it boils down to.
Do you remember a couple of years ago when the Vikings when everybody told me, when all the people that were in my DMs yesterday were telling me, you hate us. We beat the Bills. You hate us. Even though we beat Kirk Cousins, you apologize to Captain Kirk. Literally every single guy who was in my mentions yesterday, you apologize to Captain Kirk. We beat the Bills. We beat the Bills. And then they got fucking ass raped by the Cowboys. And I was like, you guys are embarrassing yourselves.
Yeah. I know. And for the record, people who blow off the first couple weeks are stupid, especially if you're in a division in a conference that's tough. All this shit matters at the end of the year, how important it is, especially with home field advantage, playing home playoff games. It all matters, especially if you're chasing the Chiefs.
It's funny, Andy. I was thinking about it this morning as I was making my coffee, getting ready for this. The whole weekend, and my number one takeaway is the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs got a lot better.
I know. I agree.
The guys who were giving them trouble to start last year because they were young and Patrick Mahomes didn't have a connection with them, and that those guys were locked in. They've been there a year now. Worthy comes in. He looks great. It's boring and it's sad in a way, and it's unlike anything I've really experienced in the majority of my football lifetime. The Cowboys were there for a minute, but I'm fairly to very confident in the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl unless something devastating happens. Unless somebody gets hurt or somebody this or a coach dies or a kid dies. Now, any given Sunday, some team, they're going to be a playoff team, and some team could sneak up on them in the playoffs. But who is that team?
It's a good question. I don't think it's anybody in the NFC.
You don't think it's anybody? So you're saying if they get to the Super Bowl, they win the Super Bowl?
I think.
If you had to pick a team, and this doesn't mean it's the team to then go on to win the Super Bowl, but if you had to pick a team that could upset the Chiefs in the playoffs, and again, doesn't mean that team then goes on to be the champs. I have 2 teams that jump out in my head.
I would have to go Bengals based on history.
I would not go with the Bengals.
I know you're throwing them away because of yesterday, but just based on history. Okay. So I would say
Chiefs have gotten better. The Bengals have gotten worse. So history, recent history only matters that much.
okay. So who are your two teams? I'm curious.
The Chargers and the Jets.
I knew you were going to say Jets.
And by the way, I am not nearly as high on the Jets as everybody else. I'm not nearly as high on the Jets because I'm just like, you're the Jets. I still have the Bills to win the division because you're the Jets. Aaron Rodgers has Kobe. We're going to compete for a championship once Kobe gets back in his healthy vibes.
By the way, speaking of these lines, I gotta read a DM I got. Shout out to Branson Ping. This would have been a great. By the way, Branson, I wish I had this stat before I play some bets this weekend. He said he saw something that in week 1 matchups, listen to this, where the spread is 6 or more, the underdog has covered 40 of the last 53. Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So all these big spreads, Cardinals covered. Patriots covered. I'm trying to think of any other ones that were 6 or more. It's like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So you say the Jets, and you say the Chargers, and even after week 1?
Well, I would have said it. I said I low key said it in our preview of the teams that were like, oh, what about this team? What about this team? It's to me,
it's the coach and the way they play.
It's the coach and the way they play. You're only your chance. Like I'm now looking at like the Chiefs are the Chiefs are the Death Star. You gotta fly the perfect mission and drop the thing right down the fucking blah blah. Like your chance is limit the amount of times they get the ball, run the ball, play defense, give yourself a chance to win at the end, have a quarterback. The Chiefs are now the undefeated Patriots in that giant Super Bowl. In a playoff game. Like, pressure Mahomes a little bit, run the ball. They're going to be beating you, but hope you have the ball last, and that you can leave them with no time left on the clock for Patrick Mahomes to. Now, Patrick Mahomes ain't Tom Brady. You give Patrick Mahomes the 36 seconds the Giants gave Tom Brady, or the 59 seconds the Giants gave Tom Brady. I don't think the Giants have either of those Super Bowls.
Man, it's crazy though if you think about it. We're already saying how good they are and how tough they're going to be to beat. And what's crazy is that last year showed they don't need home field advantage. And they have that confidence level, back-to-back games on the road. I don't know about the NFC personally, if anybody could beat them. We've seen them play the Niners twice now. They kind of have their number.
Everybody's on the Niners kind of falling off. I think, the Niners have been so good the last couple of years. Tonight will be interesting.
It will be.
I don't think the Niners are going to have some devastating fall off that everybody's predicting, but at the same time, like, hard to be as good as they've been the last couple of years. It's why, going back to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl again, like, typically it's a terrible decision for us to say, Chiefs back in the Super Bowl. But the counter to that is picking a team that was not the Niners to be there in the NFC makes sense, because historically, you're not going back. Now, I think we both think that the Chiefs are an anomaly historically. I don't know that the Niners are that good that I don't think they're going to have some major fall off, but I don't think that they're an anomaly in that it's crazy to say, hey, just the fact that they were there last year makes me think that they don't go back. Now, overreaction, underreaction, whatever. What is your overreaction? Like, we sort of reacted, I think, properly to Sean McVay. You have a Detroit Lions over. I'm sure. By the way, I haven't checked in, but I know that the overreaction from Lions fans are we are the Super Bowl champs. We have won the Super. We are the Super Bowl champs. It's just get us. Can we get it over with?
So here's the thing. I find myself rooting for the Lions now. Not last night. I was rooting for the Rams. But I find myself, I legitimately root for the Lions now.
Why?
You know why? I like what they've done with the offense. I like the play calling by Johnson. I like it. And I just think because they sucked for so long. Like I've officially turned over. Now, don't get me wrong. I still enjoy when the fans go off and the ridiculousness of the fans that a lot of times is just ignorance from all bases. But I don't know. In a way, I like seeing them do well. They're fun to watch.
Oh yeah, no.
And I was wrong. I thought Aiden Hutchinson would be a bust. I was completely wrong on that.
Well, yeah, that was the weirdest take. It was again. That's just you have that from time to time. You're like, I don't watch college football at all, but I will just come clear out of the blue and just like throw bust on like a young players before they've stepped on the field.
So that was wrong, but I think they're going to be a really good team. Even last night.
Yeah, they're going to be a really good team. But was like beating the Stafford team that almost beat them on the home. This is like
that doesn't change my opinion. The thing about the Lions, you still have Jared Goff. I know they've really embraced him at this point in Detroit. We had him for too many years in Los Angeles. You and I saw him up close and personal. I just am not going to buy into the Jared Goff stuff. Again, I've said it and I've said it again. I don't think he can win a Super Bowl. He had Sean McVay. He didn't win a Super Bowl. You going to win with Dan Campbell and not Sean McVay? Highly unlikely. Now, could they get back to the NFC Championship? For sure. 100%.
Well, the team that you had winning the NFC, you woke up for the NFL preview on Friday and took a giant wooden stake and drove it into Jordan Love's leg with your voodoo.
You're unbelievable.
I mean, we did the preview the morning it happened.
I mean, we're going to put this on me?
Yeah, 100%. I'm not fuck the field. Oh, the field is what, you know. Yeah, it was a bad field. You couldn't do it to Saquon. You do it to Jordan Love. You do it to the guy I also picked to go to the Super Bowl.
Injuries happen.
They just happen in week 1 to whoever you predict goes to the Super Bowl.
I also predicted Burrow to win the MVP last year.
Let me ask you something about. Do you think we've sort of moved on from the days? There was a time, and if you're a long listener of the Dirty Sports Podcast, you know that I talked about this for a long time. We've sort of slightly moved on. Now Patrick Mahomes is the outlier. I don't remember if Tom Brady. I don't think he did.
You're talking about contracts, aren't you?
No, I'm talking about there's a time where if you miss a single game at quarterback, you're not winning the Super Bowl. So what I was going to ask you is how much does Jordan Love being out 4 to 6 weeks damper your Super Bowl hopes?
Well, a lot. Shit, man.
I mean, they could still be a playoff team.
Yeah, for sure. But
now Malik Willis is trash.
I was just about to say, let's look at their backup.
And I know that early on, you were not the world's biggest LaFleur fan. Let's see what he does without Aaron Rodgers. And then he was pretty good without Aaron Rodgers. But, you know, there is, of course, this is when my fucking
I can hear you.
Got to get off the speaker. Get on my fucking speakers. Here we go. Back. I'm back, baby. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
But like, I think that they could still be a playoff team. But even if you were a playoff team, which is, it's going to make it harder for sure. I'm still of the, like, if your quarterback misses a single game to injury, I cut your Super Bowl chances in half. Just that fact alone. One game injury, I'm cutting your Super Bowl chances in half. What I'm saying is you derailed my Super Bowl pick.
I mean, 3 to 6 weeks. 6 weeks is a lot. About 6 weeks. I don't know why. Again, I don't know why you guys are putting this thing on me.
I don't know why you put it on me. That's what I'm saying.
I didn't put it on you. Blame the country of Brazil. Blame Sao Paulo.
Well, no, that honestly, it's the last person I'm going to blame. I'll blame the NFL before I blame. Why are we like? They're like, are there any third world countries where we can play football games?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
I love you. Like, blame Sao Paulo. Like, blame Tijuana. They're the ones whose streets are rubble. Well, why is the NFL trying to play a game in the middle of fucking Baghdad? Oh, Jordan Love slipped on rubble. You guys scheduled a game in Afghanistan.
But you know, I understand what they're doing. We all know what they're doing, but in the long run, like it's not football. I mean, it's not basketball. It's not soccer. You just don't need one ball. It's easy to make the game global. You can't be buying helmets and shoulder pads and all that. By the way, did you see Russ in shoulder pads knowing he wasn't going to play? What a dork. Russell Wilson knew he wasn't going to play and he was wearing shoulder pads. It's like that tweet said. It's the most Russ thing ever.
Dude, Mr. Unlimited popped on my timeline yesterday again. And I was like, you know, the whole world made a big deal about how cringe that was, but not a big enough deal. It's the most cringy thing in the history, in the history of the thing. He's the biggest dork that's ever walked the earth.
It's unbelievable. He's such a dork. The Ciara thing.
By the way, Vikings fans, be more like Seattle Seahawks fans who tucked their tail between their legs and apologized when Russ left, and they saw what they were able to do without him, and they saw what Russ did when he left. Tuck your tail between your legs and apologize. Don't be dumb cunts. Be thankful.
What do they do?
Who?
I mean, the Steelers, it's not like Fields played lights out. You still, it's the classic Steelers. They, like you were saying earlier.
Oh, you absolutely start Fields next week.
Right? You keep it close. It's still a road win week 1.
Yeah.
Why is he wearing his shoulder pads? You know what he is? He's like the guy who shows up after the game. He's the child who has the shoulder pads on. And you go out to get food afterwards, and you're like, dude, take off your shoulder pads. He's sitting at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Wearing his shoulder pads. He's such a dork. If we did a Mount Rushmore of dork quarterbacks, who's on it? Him, Kirk Cousins,
specifically
Tim Tebow,
dorks.
Specifically dorks. I'm going Russ, Tim Tebow, Kirk Cousins.
That's the big 3 right there.
Right? Like that's your big 3.
And then you're like,
who's the 4th dork? Who's like the 4th dorkiest quarterback of all time?
It's a great question.
But those 3,
they got to be a starter. They got to be like they got to be somebody who like played a bunch of games, right? Like Tim Tebow is about as short a career
as you can have
and still be on the Mount Rushmore of dorks.
I see. Philip Rivers isn't going to make it for me. I see someone put Philip Rivers.
I'm going to say it.
Philip?
No. Jameis is a fucking dork.
Oh,
Jameis is a fucking dork.
but he's so funny.
Is he funny?
No, I'm joking. It's what every
I know.
It's what every dork on these social media says.
It's what I can't understand, which is Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, is like Jameis Winston was cringing before Russ. It's like the Jameis Winston stands out there.
It's wild.
Are the ones that are like, Mr. Unlimited is hilarious. I love this. They should do a comic book. Mr. Unlimited, he's so funny. Oh, he wears his shoulder pads on the sideline because he cares about his teammates. He's the best teammate. What if there needs to be a fight? He's ready to fight for them. Like Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson are pointing Spider-Man meme in shoulder pads. It's like if both Spider-Men were wearing shoulder pads and no helmets because they're not playing.
Yeah. Jameis Winston stands, but it's everybody.
Jameis Winston stands like, did you hear what he called himself? He called himself Mr. Unlimited. I think we might need Mr. Unlimited t-shirts.
What's crazy?
We got to get ourselves some Mr. Unlimited stuff.
You and I are in the minority. Like the entire world has embraced, Jameis is so funny. By the way, I hope he starts for Cleveland. You know, everybody's already calling for Jameis. They all want him. Come in. I hope he does. Let's see how that plays out for the Browns. Like you said last episode in the preview. What a terrible backup for a team that's trying to run the ball and play defense. You need a quarterback who doesn't turn the ball over. I hope he plays.
Oh, I got a message from somebody whose football opinions I really respect recently. Let me read it for you. And I literally could not respond. I could not respond. I responded once and I responded once and then I could not respond anymore because I was like, what the fuck are we talking about? Where is it?
Well, you look for that.
Okay, here it is. I got it. I'm going to say what I say. Jameis Winston as the Giants QB, and they would be a wild card team. And I responded with, so the single issue with Daniel Jones is that he turns over the ball way too much. And the answer is Jameis Winston, ? Exclamation point. And he goes, dude, it's about who the boys will rally around. And I'm just like, absolutely kill yourself.
Well, it's funny you said that because Jameis 1 literally tweeted, hear me out. Browns trade Deshaun Watson in the 6th rounder to the Giants for Daniel Jones.
Wait, what?
Jameis 1 is proposing that the Browns trade Deshaun Watson and a 6th to the Giants for Daniel Jones, who would back up Jameis Winston.
So the Giants have an issue at QB.
And they trade for Deshaun Watson.
And they're acquiring Deshaun Watson?
Yeah.
Dude, I like as if buying tens of $1,000s of Jameis Winston memorabilia wasn't the worst idea you've ever had. Are you trying to are you out there just trying to top it? I know I've had some bad ideas in my days, guys. Like leveraging my entire family's value against Jameis Winston memorabilia. But hear me out. I think I've got one that can top it.
I mean, every single person wants him to start for the Browns. It'll be so funny. Let him start. It's unbelievable. There's no way you'd be a backup this long if you had the ability to be a starter.
Let me ask you something. If there are Browns fans who want Jameis Winston to start, is there somewhere deep in Browns Reddit is there something? Because The fact that more than one person says that makes me think this one person is out there. Is there one person deep in Browns Reddit who's like, hear me out? Johnny Football. He's pretty fresh. Hasn't been on the field in a while. Seems like he's matured. He was always really talented. Hear me out, Johnny Football.
I'm on Browns Reddit right now. By the way, the rumor is that Deshaun Watson did not want to come out of the game yesterday.
Did not want to? Why would you?
Kevin Stefanski said they discussed taking him out. He didn't want to come out. We all know he does what he wants, especially if he's on a massage table. So, yikes. Week 1, baby. In the books. 310-359-83. What is our hotline?
6'5".
310-359-8365. Wow. Browns fans, where are you at?
I'm at Joe Prano on all social media. Follow me there. Give us a follow on Substack if you're a free listener. I don't know where this episode's airing, how it's appearing. But if you're listening this far, follow us on Substack. I'm putting all my NFL thoughts in the Substack notes this year. So that's where I'll be. If you're like, you didn't tweet yesterday, you pussy, you disappeared when the Giants sucked. It's over there. I called for the Dable firing already on Substack. Follow me on Substack. I got shows coming up at Joe Prano on Instagram, link in bio, or just joeprano.com. Shout out to the Dirtballs who came out in Pismo. Shout out to the Dirtballs who came out in San Luis Obispo. I'll be in Vegas in a couple weeks at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club. That's the 14th to the 20th of October. Be up in Tahoe for charity golf and a charity comedy show. That's October 12th, McDuff's. And yeah, a bunch of shows in and around LA, also opening for Corolla in a couple spots. So keep your eye on joeprano.com or just DM me.
Well, we got a big week over here. I'm going to eat cat food on Wednesday.
No, you're not.
No. I'm actually going to eat guinea pig food on Wednesday.
Eat the pellets.
All right, let's wrap this bad boy up. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on Friday.
And on Thursday, Andy's going to put his pick in the chat.
I'm going to put my pick in the chat. On paper, good game. Bills, Dolphins. We'll see Josh Allen's hand if he's ready to play. But on paper, good game. I'll put that on Substack for sure. All right, guys. We'll see you on Friday. Have a great week. And as always, stay dirty.